All right, looks like we're live, and don't expect a lot of people to be listening live. It's pretty late. It's 1:19 here on the old East Coast, but it's the last night I get to use Hangouts before I got to learn something new. I don't know. I'll try the YouTube webcam, see how that goes, and I'll do the OBS, I guess. I don't like using it. Maybe I'll just get frustrated and I'll shut it down. Maybe this is my last show. Who knows? Might be the last one. Might be like, fuck it, we're done. Shut down the Patreon. Shut down all the social media. Just fucking go dark. Fuck off. Who knows? I mean, I can. I don't need to do this. I like doing this. But I don't need to do this. It makes me a few extra bucks, and I'm very grateful for that. But I don't live off of it. It's what you might call beer money. Makes me what you might call beer money. I don't call it beer money because I don't drink beer because beer tastes like shit. If I'm drinking, it's Captain or maybe some vodka or something like that, but not beer. Beer tastes like shit. I guess I'd call it comic book money. Makes me comic book money. Makes me Nintendo money. Makes me Nintendo game money. So, there's a few things I want to talk about. I heard a little bit of this on Common Filth. Common Filth put out another episode of Common Filth Radio here recently, and he was talking about Joshua Harris. And it's interesting. I had actually just seen a Babylon Bee article. The Babylon Bee, obviously satirical, and they had a fake article about, everybody had a class action lawsuit because of the terrible advice Joshua Harris gave. Now, some of you might not know who Joshua Harris is, and good. It's good that you don't know who he is. He's not worth knowing, but you're gonna know. You're gonna learn tonight. Joshua Harris. He was really big around the early 2000s, I believe. When did I Kiss Dating Goodbye? Let's see if we can find when the hell that book came out. I guess we'll go to the Wikipedia. When was he? I swear he was popular right around. Yeah, okay. Career. When the hell was this fucking book, though? It's Joshua Harris, Businessman. No, that's not it. All right, we'll just look up the book. Anyways, he wrote a book called I Kissed Dating Goodbye, and this was making the rounds among evangelical ink, I guess you could call it. It was 97. It was the late 90s. I remember in high school, very late 90s, early 2000s. Making the rounds. Let's see what the Amazon listing here is that it says. There's no. It's just a bunch of reviews, I guess. Here we go. That's the tape. Fuck. I am just having all kinds of damn problems. Anyways, the advice in it was to try and move things towards quote unquote courtship rather than dating, and an emphasis on interacting with the family of the person you're interested with, and always being in groups, never being alone. And the problem with it, when you hear it, it sounds like everything is kept way too casual and not boyfriend, girlfriend, and then all of a sudden, one day you get married, I guess. It doesn't work that way, You obviously, unless you're doing some sort of arranged marriage thing, and there's something to be said for that, you obviously got to get to know people. We're never going to so much as hold hands before we're married. We'll never be alone in the same room before we're married. Evangelical purity culture is kind of what you'd call this nonsense. And it does come from a good place. Like, yes, obviously you shouldn't be fucking around. Obviously, ideally, the only person you fuck in your life is your spouse, and you fucked her or him, for the ladies out there, you fucked him after you were married. That's when you started fucking him. I'm not disputing that. I'm not going to sit here and defend, somebody I used to know used to try to argue that, fornication. How the hell did he put it? Davis used to say something like the Bible only speaks out against hookers and something like, I don't know, but he always tried to downplay. No, the Christianity is pretty clear. No premarital sex. That's pretty clear. Don't lay with a woman, or for you ladies, don't lay with a man before you're married. That's a lot different than this nonsense evangelical purity culture, the kiss dating goodbye shit. Again, I want to try and find a review. Or not a review. Yeah, here we go. Oh, and he's actually tipping his fedora on the cover, by the way, guys. I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding with that. Look up the book, I Kiss Dating Goodbye. This nigga's going milady and tipping a fedora on the cover. Let's read the okay, so Joshua Harris's first book, written when he was only 21. I never read this book, but I highly doubt he wrote it at 21. I think there was some ghostwriting involved. I think he was the face of it. If I had to guess. Turned the Christian single scene upside down, and people are still talking. Yeah, they're talking a lot now. We'll get to that. More than 800,000 copies later, I Kiss Dating Goodbye is an inspiring call to sincere love, real purity, and purposeful singleness. Remains the benchmark for books on Christian dating. Now, for the first time since its release, the national bestseller has been expanded with new content. Oh, there we go. And updated for new readers. Honest and practical. I would not fucking call it practical. It challenges cultural assumptions about relationships and provides solid biblical alternatives to society's norm. Tired of the game? Kiss dating goodbye. Going out? Been dumped? Waiting for a call that doesn't come? Have you tasted pain at dating, drifted through one romance or possibly several of them? Ever wondered, isn't there a better way? I Kiss Dating Goodbye shows what it means to entrust your love life to God. Joshua Harris shares his story of giving up dating and discovering that God has something even better, a life of sincere love, true purity, and purposeful singleness. Again, the Joshua Harris advice is to not ever get really serious with a girl until one day a wife has just jumped in your lap. And guess what? Evangelical purity culture in general did more harm than good. Yeah, I know we live in a slut culture. We live in the oversexed culture. I get it. Okay. Making the opposite mistake is not the same thing as doing right. As somebody I used to know, like to quote, reverse stupidity is not brilliance. And Dashing Rogue says, he said it only mattered that for women, not men, that chastity is for women only. Again, that's the typical manosphere oversimplification. No, it does matter for men. It matters more for women. Sleeping around is more damaging to women, but it's damaging to men. I'm sorry, not to pick on the guy because I really don't have anything against him, but tell me Roosh doesn't look dead behind the eyes. So yeah, the milady, good guy fucking shit from Joshua Harris. It doesn't work. Okay. Now, for the Chads and Stacys among evangelical culture, well, they're just going to end up together anyways. All right. But for the more socially awkward people, of whom that's many in evangelical culture, a lot of homeschooling and that kind of stuff. This advice is life ruining. All right. It is life ruining. You end up waiting your whole youth for a spouse to just be dropped in your lap. And the killer is that Joshua Harris isn't even a self-professed Christian anymore. It's been making the news recently. That he's renounced his faith, which doesn't surprise me in the least, and we'll get to that here shortly. But let's read an article over at Newsweek, shall we? Purity expert Joshua Harris announces, I am no longer a Christian, and apologizes to LGBTQ community. They actually didn't say Q, but whatever. LGBT LMNOP community. A leader in the Christian purity movement has announced he is, quote, falling away, unquote, from Christianity, and says he regrets his teaching on dating and sexuality. Well, he should, but not for the reasons he's going to give. Joshua Harris, who first came to notice when he wrote I Kissed Dating Goodbye as a 21-year-old, also shared that he and his wife Sharon are splitting up and will, quote, will continue to our life together as friends. I have undergone a massive shift in regards to my faith in Jesus, Harris wrote on Friday in an Instagram post. The popular phrase for this is deconstruction. The biblical phrase is falling away. By all measurements that I have defined a Christian, I am not a Christian. Harris, the son of Christian homeschooling pioneers Greg and Sono Harris, served as senior pastor of Covenant Life Church from 2004 to 2015. He also wrote Boy Meets Girl, Say Hello to Courtship, and Sex Isn't the Problem. Lust is, encouraging courtship rather than recreational dating, and abstinence before marriage. Again, abstinence before marriage, fine. Taking dating seriously. I've suggested that numerous times, and I'm going to say this again right now. I know I got a lot of Zoomers listening. I got a lot of young guys listening. I got some guys in high school. And some advice I will give you that my generation was given the exact opposite advice is to take dating seriously. All these people that tell you, if you got a girlfriend or boyfriend in high school, all these people will tell you, oh, it's puppy love. Don't take it seriously. Bullshit. Okay. There is a good chance that high school sweetheart of yours is exactly who you should be settling down with. We as a species are designed to pair bond for life around your age. And I'm not saying marry the first girl that bats her eyes at you. I'm just saying you might, and there's nothing wrong with that. Take dating seriously. Do approach it with the end game of marriage in mind, by all means. But don't take this retard's advice. Don't take this legalistic spurg's advice, particularly now that you know what he is. All right, so let's see, where was I here? Yeah, I'm not reading this whole Instagram post. First of all, Instagram is for chicks. Okay. While I stand by my book's call to sincerely love others, I think my thinking has changed significantly in the past 20 years. I no longer agree with its central idea that dating should be avoided. Yeah, good call. I now think dating can be a healthy part of a person developing relationally and learning the qualities that matter most in a partner. Yeah, no shit. Harris has walked back some of his views in recent years, stating that he no longer believes Christians shouldn't date. He asked He asked the publisher to no longer print I Kiss Dating Goodbye. I have lived in repentance for the past several years, repenting of my self-righteousness. Well, that's good. My fear-based approach to life, the teachings of my books, my views on women in the church, and my approach to parenting, to name a few. Let's see. He also apologized for his previous opposition to LGBT rights and same-sex marriage. I specifically want to add to this list now to the LGBTQ plus community. He actually said that. To the LGBTQ plus community. I want to say that I'm sorry for the views that I taught in my book and as a pastor regarding sexuality. I regret standing against marriage equality and not affirming you and your place in the church. Yeah, an unrepentant homosexual doesn't have a place in the church. I'm gonna say that right now. Now, a repentant one, sure. I'm not going to judge you for what you struggle with. I struggle with all sorts of things. And for any ways that my writing and speaking had contributed to a culture of exclusion and bigotry, I hope you can forgive me. Now, here's the thing. I'm not surprised. Somebody says that was a good CF episode. By the way, I haven't actually finished that CF episode. I just listened to the beginning of it before work. I'm probably going to finish it before I go to bed, actually. Somebody in the chat keeps talking about breed. I don't know what the fuck any of that meant. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I want a breed. I want a breed. What, do you want to breed? What the fuck are you talking about? But no, it's not surprising that this guy walked away from his faith, because the Joshua Harris type of Christianity was the most legalistic form of Christianity you can find this side of the fucking Vatican. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me that he walked away from that. Why wouldn't he? The Christianity of this type, it's completely devoid of grace. It's completely devoid of any genuine connection to Christ. It's just rules on top of rules, on top of rules, on top of rules. It's what the Pharisees had, essentially. It's what the Jews had in Christ's time. And look, it's fine to add these sort of extra things, like, for your own person, like, like Mike Pence with, I won't be alone in a room with a woman that's not my wife. Okay, fine. Whatever. But you got to recognize that's just some extra shit that you added that may serve you well. That's fine. But it's not an inherent, moral law. There's nothing inherently morally wrong with a man and a woman being alone in a room together if, they're not married, whatever. It's maybe not the best idea, particularly in a Me Too kind of age, but it's not an inherent moral commandment. But you see this with the evangelicals all the time, and it's disappointing. This was something that kept me away from Christianity for a very long time. I started looking into Christianity. I hear, as a teenager, I was looking into a lot of faith, and the culture surrounding the Christian culture in America was not the same as what they were portraying Christianity is. You just come to faith in Jesus. It doesn't matter who you are, what you've done. You can have repentance, you can have forgiveness. It's not about what you do for God. It's about what God did for you, and all this other stuff. That's how to present it. That's not how evangelical culture. That's not how evangelical culture functioned, though. It very much functioned as if they were trying to win God's favor. It very much was legalistic. It very much was Joshua Harris's. Rules upon rules upon rules upon rules. It very much was James MacDonald's. James MacDonald said that, how did he put it? Something like you could fall into license or legalism, and it's better to fall into legalism because at least God knows you're trying that way. Well, no, James MacDonald pushed legalism because he was a megalomaniac, egomaniac who wanted to control people. And that's a fact, by the way. We've established that about James MacDonald. Don't criticize him, or he'll try and put child porn on your computer. That's James MacDonald. And that was evangelical culture. And it still is. That was evangelicalism Inc. And it still is. That's it. It was conservative Protestant culture, whatever you want to call it. Christian culture in America. I've heard a lot of people say Christian culture in America, it's too individualistic because America's so individualistic. Is it? Is it really? I've heard that from a lot of people. I've heard Pastor Tom say that, and I love Pastor Tom. I had him on the show numerous times. I'll have him on the show numerous times still. Assuming this isn't my last show, because I can't figure out OBS. But no, I don't believe evangelical. I don't believe Christian culture in the United States is too individualistic. I believe it's if anything, quite the opposite. I see a lot more James McDonald's out there than I'd like to. We Protestants, we turned our back on the Pope, and rightfully so. There's no legitimacy in the office of the papacy. But we sure do love to build up our mini popes, don't we? We sure do love to do that. Let's see, what else did I want to talk about? There's a few other things, I believe. Let me check some stuff. But yeah, I found the Joshua Harris thing rather interesting because I remember that stuff getting pushed around. And I remember him getting pimped in a big way. So he says a lot of denominationalism is merely pride dressed up as religion. That's a lot of Christian culture anymore. Again, as a teenager, some of my first real exposures to real Christianity. My parents were like nominally Christian growing up. Like grandparents were more devout. Occasionally go to church on Easter or something, but I wasn't really exposed to it. But, as a teenager, I was more curious, and I was looking heavily into politics, and I was looking heavily into philosophy and different religions and all. And, you're a teenager, you're becoming a man, and you want to understand the world. Now, yeah, I was an obnoxious little God-hating agnostic and all. But a lot of what I realized, my hostility to Christianity had to do a lot more with a revulsion at the Christian culture I saw. Evangelicalism Inc. was at best cringy. At best, acquire the fire and all this other, teen shit. This pastor's really hippies in a coffee house and all this other dumb shit. And you saw just so much of this dumb shit. And I like to fuck with the Christian kids I knew who were all into that. I remember my high school sweetheart, one of her friends, I guess she had known her since, it was one of those friendships where they'd known each other since, elementary school kind of thing. And I sat with her at lunch, and she was sitting with her friend, and her friend was one of these Christian girls, and she was never obnoxious about it, but her boyfriend was extremely obnoxious, and I like to fuck with him a lot because it was funny, because he didn't handle it well. And I like to fuck with everybody. I like to fuck with my friends a lot. My best friend in high school was Native American, and I always called him Squanto. It's funny. I actually remember he was on the football team, and the one guy that was on it with him. I mean, this guy was your typical stereotype obnoxious jock. At one point, he comes up to him and he's like, "What's up, Squanto?" And my buddy, he just punched that guy right in the face. Like, just spun around, punched him right in the face, knocked him on his ass. And the guy was all, man, he's like, what the hell, man? Bechtloff calls you that. They just kind of looked at him and he goes, Bechtloff can. Which, but a little side note there. Like I said, like to fuck with people. That you may have noticed that about the show. And I like to fuck with my friends. And I like to fuck with people when they very clearly don't take it well. And that's not the best attribute, to be honest. It's not exactly served me well. But I almost can't help it. Fish gotta fly. Fish gotta swim. Birds gotta fly. Yeah, fish gotta fly. Fish gotta swim. Birds gotta fly. I gotta fuck with people. So this kid, he didn't take it well. He didn't take a lot of that shit well. And oh man, I used to fuck with him relentlessly. I shouldn't even tell this story, but I once he had a whole bunch of bumper stickers on his car, and it was all like cringy Christian rock bands, and he had like the Darwin fish was popular at the time, like the Jesus fish with legs, and it said Darwin in it, and he had like a Jesus fish eating the Darwin fish or something. So I had a bumper sticker made because there was a place at the mall, a little kiosk where you can make bumper stickers, and I had a bumper sticker made that said registered sex offender. I put that on his fucking car when he wasn't looking. And that shit was on there for like a month. He was so fucking mad. He was so, because he knew I did it. He knew I fucking did it. Oh, I remember how he found out. He was sitting there at the lunch table. I had to fucking say, every day I had to sit with him because, fucking our girlfriends made us sit together. And he's just so visibly mad. And I'm like, what's wrong, buddy? He's some asshole. He goes through what happened, and I could not poker face it. I'm just laughing. And he's like, fucking you wouldn't. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh man. It's funny. His girlfriend was trying to calm him down, and my girlfriend was fucking pissed at me. And she's all like, you apologize to him right now. Oh man, good times. But yes, I recognize, looking back, a lot of my aversion to Christianity was an aversion to evangelical culture, I guess you'd call it. Aversion to Christian culture, evangelicalism, Inc., all that sort of nonsense. And it really, really was cringe. So he says, men like to absolve themselves of responsibility. The James McDonald's of the world move in to take responsibility. Yeah, exactly. But no, this guy is sitting here. Oh, I want to apologize to the LGBTQ LMNOP # community. No, what you should be apologizing to is all the dorky kids, especially boys, that you encourage to take this ridiculous fucking advice, who, wasted their youth sitting around because God's just going to dump a wife in their lap. That's who you should be apologizing to, Joshua. Yeah, not the LGBTQ LMNOP community. Let's see. What else did I want to talk about? I got to get Common Filth on here because I'd love to talk about that sort of late 90s, early 2000s, evangelical culture a little bit more. I went to a conservative high school, so I mean there was a lot of that around. You know I remember I tried to petition the school to not petition. What was it? Yeah, you could file to form a club and like just to be obnoxious. I filed because it was the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. So I filed to try to get the school to recognize the what was it? The Coven of Pagan Nerds or something like that. I can't even remember if I can't remember if they accepted it or not. I think they told me to fuck off. You know, like I'm good as joking, like I'm gonna sue. I don't care. I was just fucking around. I wouldn't. I wasn't even gonna hold meetings. I was gonna like just get some. I really don't know how far I would have taken that if they'd have let me. Somebody says, "Did you call it the Free Folk?" I should have. Yeah, that was the precursor to the Free Folk. Little did I know that club was actually that club would later go on to be the Free Folk. Oh man, there was a bunch of like very Christian teachers there and all, and I used to butt heads with them a lot. Oh man, I remember the one, and it was because I used to argue with him a lot, and then he you know, I'd be sitting by my, you know, hanging out by my locker with my girlfriend, and I guess kind of puck with me back a little bit. He started picking on my girlfriend, being like, you know, her skirt's too short or whatever, that kind of stuff, you know, not dress code and all. And I remember I said to him one time, you know, typical smart ass teenager, I said to him like, man, you are awfully concerned with what my girlfriend's wearing or something like that, or you're awfully concerned with my girlfriend's ass or something. I said something downright out of line. And I thought I was going to get like some detention or something. He turned bright red, which is, and again, I can't remember how I said it, but I freely admit it was obnoxious. And he turned bright red, like I swear he was tempted to punch me. He looked so fucking mad. uh, so he says, thoughts on the rumored Muslim Blade? Yeah, I did hear that the Blade reboot, they might cast him as a Muslim, which is stupid, fucking terrible. So don't go watch it if they do that. Go watch the original Blade. The original Blade's fucking fantastic. Hell, Blade 3 is okay. I kind of think Blade 2 is shit. I really don't like Blade 2 at all. But Blade 3 is decent. And Blade 1 is fantastic. It's funny. I actually saw Blade 2 in a theater and with a buddy of mine, and my dad tagged along. And he hadn't seen Blade 1. And we all agreed it was terrible. I'm like, this is not good. This is not a good follow-up. And it was, and I'm like, it's such a shame because Blade 1's so good. And it took me forever to get my dad to go see Blade 1. Actually, what happened was he tagged along with my buddy and I to go see Blade 3 years later and liked Blade 3 and then went and watched Blade 1. Like he would not just take my word for it that you should watch it. It's good. But he would still like want, he would still go, like if my buddy and I were going to the movies and he was just had nothing, I was like, whatever, I'll go with you, I don't care. Something to do. And he loved hanging out with me and my friend though. My best friend is almost like a second son to him. I mean, when I say he's like a brother to me, I mean truly, he's like a second son to my dad. All right. Somebody says are Muslim vampires weak against pigs. So he says, you ever watch a Blade TV series on FX? It was awesome. A little bit of it, but I never really caught it. It looked pretty good from the little bit I saw, but I just never got into it. It was one of those things where it's like, again, I don't even watch TV anymore, so it's not a problem. But a lot of times when there'd be something on TV on a channel you don't watch a lot, I would never catch it because I would never like, you know, if it's on a channel you watch a lot, you're going to see commercials for it. You're going to be reminded, oh, you know, like back in the day when I watched South Park a lot, I used to watch Comedy Central all the time. Comedy Central used to be good. not no more, but used to be. And so you'd see constant reminders that this show you want to watch is coming on. But if there's like one show on a channel, you just kind of forget about it. And you just don't watch that channel ever. And I never really watched FX. So he says black vampires have a +4 to stealth at night. This is very true. I love the Blade movie. It's fantastic. And let's remember the historical kind of context there for nerd history, as it were. Blade is the first critically and commercially successful Marvel movie. So, when they make a big deal out of Black Panther a couple of years ago, yeah, well, before anyone knew who the fuck the Avengers were outside of comic book fans, Blade was, making some motherfucking money out there. Critically and commercially successful. And it's just a damn solid movie. It really is really good. I mean, some of the computer effects in it haven't aged well, but I mean, it's a movie from like 98, I believe. So, that's to be expected. Hey, Luke, how's it going? I guess he's got his mics muted there. Let's see. What else did I want to talk about?
Hello, kids.
I guess he's got his mic.
How is everything? What are we talking about?
I was talking about Joshua Harris. And
hello, kids.
The guy who was all like, yeah,
how is everything? What are we talking about?
Getting echoes there, Luke. Talking about Joshua Harris.
Echo. What's going on here?
I think you got to have some headphones in there or something. But yeah, we were talking the I Kiss Dating Goodbye dude who's spearheaded a lot of that evangelical purity culture and then ended up, renouncing Christianity.
Oh, he actually renounced it.
He's I'm not a Christian. Well, I guess the weight of all that legalism eventually,
What does he do now? Like,
I don't know. Fucking apologizes to the gay community is what he does now, apparently. Somebody says, Van.
Oh, well, the Federalist has a paper that says, 22 years after I kissed Dating Goodbye, Joshua Harris leaves wife and faith.
Well, like I said, I got to get Common Filth on here because a lot of that, I guess you could call it turn of the century, late 90s, early 2000s evangelical culture is kind of a fascinating topic to me because I watched it I watched a lot of it. Now, I watched a lot of it sneering at it because I wasn't a Christian at the time and I thought it was all very stupid. And most of it was. I remember I used to watch some of those what the hell was the channel name? There was some Christian channel on the cable package and it would air these terrible fucking Christian movies Saturday night. And it would be this, it was almost like watching porn because it was the same production value level. And it was you'd see the same dozen actors. Especially in porn, you see the same dudes all the time. At least back in the day you did. Maybe that's not as true now. But it was sort of this, you see the same 3 or 4 guys leading in these movies all the fucking time. Let me look up a movie real quick because I want to look up an actor's name. Yeah, I gotta look up this actor's name. I want you to look up. We'll find this on IMDb. Movie's called Brother White, but I want to. Okay, so look up a man named David A.R. White. Is the actor's name? I swear, this guy was in so many Christian movies. Oh, dude. It was one of those things where you just saw his face over and over and over again in these shitty movies. Hey, Bechtloff, how about a show about all these new R-type horror movies out there? Mother, Midsummer, Cthulhu 2007, Get Out. Get Out looks like shit. I haven't seen a lot of these, so I couldn't really tell you. But I mean, the problem with that is I have to watch them. Let's see. So he says the problem with Christian entertainment is that it's really boring. I would say it's a twofold problem. Number one, like nobody likes to be, pardon the pun, preached at when they're watching a movie or something like that. Like when I was a kid, I remember Captain Planet was a cartoon that Ted Turner was pushing, but nobody actually liked that show because it wasn't actually a show. It was 30 minutes about environmentalist propaganda pushed in your face. All right. It wasn't actually a show. It was propaganda. There's nothing wrong with having a message. All right. But you have to actually be a movie or a book or a show first and then have your message. So that's the problem number one. Like, I mean, the Kendrick brothers, they're the guys that did like Fireproof and Facing the Giants. They did a follow-up to Fireproof that was about cops instead of firemen called Courageous. And that movie literally ends with an altar call. Interestingly enough, the only even decent movie those guys did was Flywheel, which was their first one that had like a budget of nothing. Like the audio visual quality looks like a local TV commercial. But yeah, you can't do that. Secondly, the other big problem, and this is a problem with, I guess, evangelicalism Inc. This is a problem with American Christian culture. It's too fucking sanitized. Like, you know, not every movie or show or whatever has to be made to be rated G. Not everything has to be family friendly in this world. Some things can just be for adults. That's okay. Most of the stories in the Bible, if translated faithfully to film, would get a pretty hard R. And that's okay. Not everything has to be for kids. So those are the two big problems with Christian entertainment.
I shall sacrifice my finest grains and livestock. Behold, I have found favor with the Lord. So shall I find favor with thy belly.
See, Flanders gets it.
Somebody in the Bible, or, I'm sorry, somebody in the chat just says, I don't know if you follow the channel Blackpilled, but he pointed out that Pleasantville had strong parallels with Adam and Eve's story. I really liked that movie, Pleasantville, when it first came out. I hadn't seen it in a while, though. Let's see. Somebody says, but can you really make an R-rated movie and have the image of being a Christian? Well, I mean, Mel Gibson did it. But yeah, I honestly, look, not to kiss my own ass here, but the amount of times I get a load of shit for swearing, just for, oh, I said shit just now. Oh no. Oh, won't somebody please think of the children? But we're all adults here. All right. You know, it's okay. It ain't gonna hurt nobody. You know, I try not to say like Jesus Christ or something as an expletive, you know, as an exclamation mark. I try not to say goddamn, things like that, because that's taking the Lord's name in vain. And there's an actual commandment against that. There is an actual instruction against that. So I try not to do it. I slip up sometimes. But I actually make a concerted effort not to do that. But guess what? saying fuck isn't that big of a deal. Okay. It is honestly a word that is probably less than 150 years old. It's just a made up fucking word. Doesn't mean it means everything, and thus it means nothing. Again, manners and morality are two different things.
What's the big deal? It doesn't hurt anybody. Fuck, fuckity, fuck, fuck, fuck.
How would you like to go see the school counselor?
How would you like to suck my balls?
Indeed.
What did you say?
I'm sorry. Actually, what I said was... How would you like to suck my balls, Mr. Garcia?
God, that movie is so funny. Yeah, see, right there. Oh, I was like, God, and I try not to do that. I do still, but I try not to. I make the effort. But yeah, I'd rather see more things like Passion of the Christ. Another good. You know what's a good movie that's full of Christian themes? Is a movie called Changing Lanes with Ben Affleck and Samuel L. Jackson. And I mean, it's an R-rated movie. I've argued here numerous times. I'll argue it again. Many horror movies are, if not overtly Christian, at the very least, what you might call K-type, what you might call right-wing, I guess, whatever. What you might call conservative, something like that in their themes. Their morality plays at their core often. Something like the Hellraiser movies. While many of them are not particularly good movies, I'd say roughly half of them aren't. Still, at their worst, they have more interesting things to say about the nature of sin and temptation and hedonism than a million quote unquote Christian movies. Yeah, trying to be a quote-unquote Christian movie, well, right away you failed. Try actually being a movie. Pinhead. Those are. That is my favorite horror movie series, and maybe tied for Nightmare on Elm Street. I do love Freddy Krueger, but the mythos behind the Hellraiser. Boom Studios, a comic book company, right around 2010, I think, 2011, something like that. They started a Hellraiser comic that went on for a while that was absolutely fantastic. Again, because while a lot of those movies are not so good, the core concept, the mythos behind them is absolutely brilliant. As far as the core concept, the mythos, whatever you want to call it, I would say Hellraiser probably has the best of virtually any of the big horror franchises. Yeah, that's actually the thing you put up there. It's Hellraiser Masterpieces. That's Boom Studios. When they got the Hellraiser license, they reprinted a bunch of older Hellraiser comics, and that was in the Hellraiser Masterpieces where you find this. I'm just pointing that out in case anybody wants to take the recommendation and search for it. Dan Jansky sends $2. Says, "You have any interest in Warhammer 40K?" I don't really have any interest in playing it, but I mean, I kind of developed a bit of a fondness for the mythos behind it just from listening to Undertow describe it for so long. Somebody says the next Hellraiser movie, the real bad guys are the moralizers and Pinhead will be the good guy. Well, that's one of the interesting things. I know you're putting that out as like a joke. But I could honestly see I can honestly see that getting worked into a really good Hellraiser movie. Sort of showing that the Puritan is in his own way every bit as obsessed with sex, if not more than the hedonist. I mean, that would be an interesting kind of message to put in a Hellraiser movie.
Jesus Christ.
Not quite.
I actually remember, it's not the best movie, but if you ever seen Bordello of Blood with Dennis Miller, it was one of the Tales from the Crypt movies back in the 90s. By the way, Demon Knight is fantastic. Go watch Demon Knight. That was the first Tales from the Crypt movie. Fantastic movie. Billy Zane getting it done in that movie. Bordello of Blood is not a very good Tales from the Crypt movie. It is, however, a pretty good Dennis Miller movie. So if you're into Dennis Miller, you get a kick out of it. But anyways, it turns out like the big bombastic preacher was actually working with the vampire chick Lilith, because she was running a bordello where she'd lure men in and kill them, and he was actually working with her because he approved of it because she was killing sinners, which is kind of an interesting take. I like that. He even sort of has an arc where he realizes he was wrong and sort of has a little redemptive action where he tries to help stop her. So not a bad movie, Bordello of Blood.
No, what you did, that was fucking evil, man. Oh, how uncomfortable that word must feel on your lips.
Dude, honestly, I could listen to some of the Pinhead monologues for ages. And you know what I really love about those movies? And I haven't seen Doug Bradley, the guy that plays Pinhead. I haven't seen him in almost anything else. So I can't speak to how much of an actor he is. And this almost might be the result of him being a bad actor. But Pinhead, more often than not in those movies, seems almost bored with it all. Just bored and distracted by everything. Like, whatever. She's chopping up another guy, open a box. He's just punching the clock sometimes. And that's honestly fits with the mythos in the character. Let's see. Somebody says Bordello Blood was an attempt to rip off from Dust Till Dawn. Oh, Dust Till Dawn's a better movie. Don't get me wrong. Again, Bordello Blood's not a particularly good Tales from the Crypt movie. It's not a particularly good horror movie. It is a good Dennis Miller movie. If you get a kick out of Dennis Miller, and if, like me, you like hot redheads that are bad for you, but you want them anyways, Bordello Blood's a damn fine movie. It's no Demon Knight, though. Demon Knight is fucking-tastic. Billy Zane did not get enough credit. Ever. I cannot think of anything where I've disliked Billy Zane in it. I can think of movies Billy Zane was in where I didn't care for the movie itself. But it was never because of Billy Zane. Let's see, going through the chat a little bit here. So he says James Woods for the win. James Woods fun too. He says The Shape of Water, The Birds, Us, our type horror man. Well, yeah, the Keenan. What is the guy's name? The guy, the comedian we've all decided is a horror icon. The Get Out and Us guys. What the hell is that guy's name? Keenan something, I want to say. Or am I getting a mistake? Peele? Jordan Peele. We've all decided Jordan Peele is a horror icon because he farted out 2 shitty horror movies that, the first one was vaguely anti-white, so everyone wanted to kiss its ass. But neither one is any good. All right. In fact, Jordan Peele is fucking hosting the Twilight Zone reboot because I guess he's a horror icon now. We've all decided this hack is a fucking horror icon. Get fucked. And was Shape of Water even a fucking horror movie? Wasn't it just some chick wanted to bang a fish dude?
I think that was a monologue for undesirable relationships.
I mean, I haven't seen Shape of Water, so I mean, like, I'm not immediately like gonna moralize about, oh, this chick's trying to bang a fish dude, so I need to protest it or something like that. Like, I don't know, it might be a decent movie, might be a decent metaphor, like you said, a metaphor for 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 a relationship that's bad for you. I don't know. Hell, it could be an anti-miscegenation metaphor for all that fuck I know about it. I don't know. Sometimes people want to get I don't know. I don't like the knee-jerk moralizing. I get it. I get leftist, there's all this leftist pause and shit in Hollywood, but it's like I'm not looking at a movie looking for a reason to be offended. Sometimes that like, remember, what was the cartoon on Netflix that was it was about all the it had the puberty monster in it. It was about all the
Big Mouth?
tweens. Yeah, Big Mouth, that's right. It's about all the tweens, puberty kicking in and what a nightmare that is. And come on, we've all been there, right? I assume everybody's listening to this has been visited by the puberty monster at some point in their life. And if not, you're too fucking young to be listening to this. You need to go to bed. All right, it's 2 a.m. Look, I haven't watched that show. I've heard some people say it's terrible. I've heard some people I trust actually say it was pretty fucking funny. I'm not offended by the concept. Oh, it's sexualizing children. I'm sorry. I thought we on the right, whatever. Yeah, I thought we on this side of things were, didn't we pride ourselves and we face the unpopular, the unpleasant truths? Guess what? 13-year-olds are horny. I know, I'm dropping a big old truth bomb. Oh, Bechtloff pro pedophilia. No, I'm not saying any of that shit. But unless something's medically fucking wrong with them, a 13-year-old has hit puberty now. They're going through puberty, okay? If you see a 13-year-old boy, rest assured, he jacks off. Again, barring a medical problem. And I even heard people try to argue that, like, the fact that the character designs in Big Mouth are so ugly is some sort of like, oh, well, she left us always pushing ugly. Don't get me wrong. I don't like how ugly so much animation is. But in a show like that, I'd make the character designs as ugly as fucking possible to keep perverts from Rule 34 in it. How about that? But no, I wasn't offended by Big Mouth as a fucking concept. Okay, because first of all, it's clearly adult animation. Okay, it's clearly along the lines of your Rick and Mortys and your Family Guys and your Aqua Teen Hunger Forces and your Simpsons and what have you. It's clearly not. At least I would assume it's not going to. If you put in the kids mode on your Netflix, it's not going to be there. So no, I wasn't offended by it. It might be shit. In fact, these days, given how bad most things are, there's a good chance it's shit.
Speaking of which, have you heard of Forever 12?
I have not heard of Forever 12. Eldritch Fan sends $2, says, watch Dagon, directed by Stuart Gordon. Opinion? I haven't seen that. I couldn't tell you. Sorry about that. Couldn't tell you anything about that. Yeah, I don't know anything about Forever 12 either. So,
well, it's supposedly a Cartoon Network release on Netflix, and it is like all the complaints about Big Mouth. The thing is, I'm not sure if this is supposed to be for adults, but it is ugly. There's something so repulsive about these characters.
Yeah, it doesn't look good.
And of course, by the halfway through, we find out, oh yeah, the main character is actually a lesbian. We're seeing her develop.
No, well,
because of course.
But again, I don't go around looking for reasons to be mad. Like, supposedly, and I didn't read it yet, but that nutcase Laramie Hirsch, the guy who says that the Catholic Church should have destroyed the Bible. Well, he had a big rant about Stranger Things 3 I don't know what he was complaining about. It's heresy for some reason. Who the fuck knows? I watched Stranger Things 3. I liked it. It's better than season 2, in my opinion. Not as good as season 1. There you go. You want my opinion on Stranger Things 3? Better than 2, not as good as 1. Is it worth a watch? Hell yeah, it's worth a watch. All Stranger Things is. Pretty good. But yeah, I like I said, not going to get offended by the idea of Big Mouth. I'm not going to get offended by a lot of this shit. I'm not going to look for a reason to be fucking offended. You know, and I just see too much of that. I've gotten really tired of it on this side.
Although it is kind of, Forever 12 is kind of has a little twist in it because the whole thing is like a metaphor for her escapism, and so she's actually avoiding relationships because she doesn't want to give up her world of escapism where she becomes a superhero. So it's quasi interesting, but at that point, but it's just the characters are,
It doesn't look good. I mean, I'll tell you that much. Yeah, I don't think a show like Big Mouth is something that should be watched by kids that age or by kids even younger. But, you know, as an adult, again, you went through that. You can remember it. You could laugh about how terrible and awkward your middle school years were. Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not going to sit here and want, it's sexualizing children. Is it? Is it really? Again, there's plenty of fucked up shit out there that they push that would be way better targets for this crap. How about the fact that, you know, Arthur, a cartoon made for literal fucking babies, you know, is pushing butt sex. Maybe that's something to get a little more upset about. I did see one comic that was pretty funny with the Arthur thing, where somebody was watching the gay wedding Arthur episode, and that person was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe this! Everyone needs to know." And then they're holding up a sign in the street that says Arthur is still on television.
22 years is it now?
I don't know. I vaguely remember Arthur books when I was a little kid. I don't really ever remember being a fan of them, but I remember they existed. But by the time that was on PBS, I mean, I wasn't watching PBS. I was, at the very least, a kid, if not a teenager. You know, I mean, let's be real. The stuff on PBS, at least when I was a kid, was made for preschoolers. You know, I wasn't joking when I said literal baby cartoon. You know what I mean? The stuff on PBS was Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers and Reading Rainbow and Barney the Dinosaur back in my day, you know? Although even Barney the Dinosaur, I was already too old by the time that aired. But yeah, it's programming for literal babies. You know, maybe it doesn't need to have butt sex in it. Just throwing that out there as maybe.
1996. First.
Yeah, so I was 13 years old when Arthur first came on the air. I was a little too old for it. Yeah, I was still watching cartoons. I never stopped watching cartoons. I went through a bit of an awkward phase where I, you know, kind of didn't admit that I watched cartoons still, but I never stopped watching cartoons because cartoons are great. You know, you never get to a point where you're too old to have fun. Okay, you turn into a weenie. Nobody wants that. Trust me. All right. Well, I think I'm going to wrap this up. We're going on for about an hour. Luke, thanks as always for your sidekick duties on what might be my last show. You know, because Hangouts is going away. Maybe I'll be too retarded to figure something else out. Who knows?
What is Dragon directed by Stuart Gordon?
I don't know. Somebody asked in the chat. I didn't know.
These images, strange images. Let's see what we got here.
Couldn't tell you.
Some nice body horror. Some nice monster horror, though.
Yeah, she looks cute.
Let's see, some sort of Cthulhu monster going on here. Here we go.
Huh. Well, how about that? You don't really know what that's about. Couldn't tell you.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
I see where this is going.
I don't like where that's going. It's not a good time.
And lastly,
Oh no, that's just disturbing. Although that's what a horror movie should be. Maybe it's good. I don't know. Couldn't tell you. Might have to check it out. Seems interesting, nonetheless. So that's about it for tonight, folks. If you enjoy the content I put out, do consider supporting the show. We got the PayPal, Patreon, and Amazon wish list. And you know what? Just as a joke, I shouldn't say just as a joke, just as a lark, just see where it goes. There's a Mario Kart Hot Wheels set, and I saw it at Target a little while ago, and it's like $80. I said to myself, "Heads, I gotta say, I'm tempted, but no, that's stupid." I'm gonna use it once and then and then so I thought to myself, you know what? I'm gonna throw it on the wish list, and I am gonna make an actual video review of setting it up, and I guess quote unquote reviewing it if someone actually buys me, which I doubt it. I'm not telling you to buy it for me, because it's probably not worth the money. But it's one of those things where I bet you I'd have I bet you I'd be a kid again for like 5 fucking minutes. But yes, check out the wish list. There's all sorts of stuff on the wish list. And I am almost done with a bunch of books that I got off the wish list. Y'all hit me with a bunch of books at the same time, and thick reads too. I mean, like that book on homosexuality in the Vatican and stuff like that. It's just, good Lord, man. So I'll have quite a few book reviews coming probably in rapid succession on us. But yeah, check out the wish list. Yeah, I'm going to probably get to bed here. But like I said, wish list, PayPal, Patreon, always support the show. And that's about all I got for tonight, folks. I want to thank you all for listening. Bechtloff out.